There are many massively multiplayer online games on the market these days, ranging from behemoths like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, and even RuneScape. Today, I want to talk about my favorite MMO of all time, The Elder Scrolls Online. The Elder Scrolls franchise is one of great significance in my life. At the age of 12, I started playing The Elder Scrolls Skyrim, and it was essentially the first time I've ever played an RPG on that scale. But the world, the characters, the lore, and the story all had me very addicted. It was practically all I would think about while I was at school. Fast forward a few years, and I remember hearing announcements about ESO. The trailer was very appealing. The thought of creating your own character in the ever expanding world that was many times larger than Skyrim, and setting on quests and adventures that will take you for countless hundreds of hours of gameplay was very intriguing. Jump forward to 2014, and ESO was released. At first, the game was unoptimized, buggy, and the portrayal of creatures was uninspired, and the gameplay lacked depth. There was a lot of things that I personally didn't enjoy, and whether my PC could run the game at the time, which, by the way, didn't look all that graphically intensive, was a whole completely different conversation. Aside from that, the design felt foreign to the Elder Scrolls franchise, almost opting out completely from the world that they had built in their other titles and went for a more lifelike resemblance of creatures. A good example would be the tigers, spiders, and other creatures which in other titles have been depicted a little bit more fantastical and wild. Even with all the bugs, glitches, lack of content, lack of in-game, and the gameplay at the time, I feel like the Elder Scrolls Online of the modern day is short of being called a masterpiece. Playing the Elder Scrolls Online today, you can find various expansions, endless missions, a vast world to explore, and a comprehensive endgame experience, along with almost all of the issues that I have previously mentioned being pretty much non existent, minus the graphics, of course. As you play the game for the very first time, you will obviously create your character, which, in terms of some more popular MMOs, is less lacking in that category with options for customization. There are various classes, races, and even factions to play with, and ties everything in nicely to the story and lore. From the moment you create your character, you will be sent on one of the MMO's best tutorials. And I mean this genuinely. I've never been immersed in any other tutorial, Final Fantasy XIV, Black Desert, World of Warcraft, RuneScape, etc. None of them kept me curious as ESO has. Upon completing the tutorial, a change of gameplay has been formed, and now you get to decide which expansion or main quest you want to start off from the beginning. And it's choices like that that drive the sense of immersion, exploration, and creativity that make one get lost in the world they have crafted. The Elder Scrolls Online offer a combat which is unlike most older MMOs. The clunkiness of having three different movements for cameras, for control of the character, locking into different targets, and generally not being able to hit anything or be able to freely move your character is not really a thing in ESO. Something which in World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, walking is clunky, turning your camera in a separate bind, and overall makes you think more about moving your character than interacting in the world. On top of that, obviously every single piece of dialogue has been voice acted, and it's not just a text box reading simulator. The game does an outstanding job at masterfully weaving in every story within one another, taking the standard fetch quest and giving it more purpose on the grand scheme of things. The crafting, trading, resource gathering, refining, combat, dungeons, delves, PvP world, story, and countless expansions give you thousands of hours to ESO. And that is done by giving the player the liberty to play at their own pace, selecting the missions that suit them and avoiding the ones that don't. There's no rush to make it to the next DLC without having explored or invested all the time you want before feeling ready to continue forward. That's something that is tragically evident in games like Destiny, which, while not being a traditional MMO, it is something that's always knocking at your door and resetting your fun. The freedom to choose whatever race, with whatever class, with literally whatever weapon, makes being your own unique, one of a kind adventure that much more meaningful. You can trade with other players to your heart's content, or not. You can become a werewolf or vampire, or not. Finish the quest, or not. There's too many things in ESO to be locked into any one thing, and that's what makes this game truly the most enjoyable MMO on the market, and I felt like this for a very long time. There are many, many more things I would like to cover and talk about why ESO is so great at what it does. But you should just go ahead and try the game for yourself if you have the time. It's regularly on sale and it's a blast with over 300 hours of playtime just playing the main story. As always, thank you for watching. Peace.